What if everything you have been searching for, meaning, balance, transformation, was never outside of you to begin with, but has always existed as two opposing forces within your own being, waiting to be united? The ancient alchemists spoke in symbols, myths, and strange images, not because they wanted to confuse us, but because the truths they were pointing to could not be explained directly, only experienced. At the center of their teachings lies a mysterious process known as the alchemical marriage, a sacred union between opposites, a transformation so profound that it does not simply change who you are, but reveals what you truly are. And according to the teachings attributed to Hermes Trismegistos, this union is not optional for those who seek truth, it is the path itself. In the symbolic language of alchemy, this inner transformation is often described as the story of a king and a queen, two archetypal forces that represent the dual nature of existence. The king is associated with the sun with clarity, structure, logic, and conscious awareness, while the queen is associated with the moon with intuition, emotion, mystery, and the unconscious depths of the mind. These two forces are drawn toward each other, as if they are meant to unite, and yet they remain separated as if an invisible barrier prevents their union. And this separation is not accidental, because each of them in their current state is incomplete, and any attempt at union without transformation would only result in imbalance rather than harmony. To understand why this union is necessary, we turn to the Hermetic teachings found in the Kybalion, where one of the fundamental principles states that everything in existence is dual, everything has poles, and everything has its pair of opposites. What appears to us as a contradiction is, in reality, a difference in degree, meaning that light and darkness, hot and cold, masculine and feminine, are not separated things but expressions of the same underlying essence. The alchemical marriage is the realization of this truth, not just intellectually but experientially, as a lived transformation in which the illusion of separation begins to dissolve. It is the recognition that the forces within you that seem to conflict are, in fact, meant to complement and complete each other. But before this union can take place, something far more difficult must happen, something that many avoid yet cannot be bypassed. The alchemists describe this stage as a breakdown, a dissolution, a descent into chaos where everything that once felt stable begins to fall apart. This is the stage known as the Nigredo, or the blackening, where the old identity begins to collapse and the structures that once defined you lose their meaning. It can feel like confusion, like losing direction, like a confrontation with parts of yourself you would rather not see. But this stage is not a mistake and it is not a failure. It is the necessary beginning of transformation because what is false must first be broken down before what is true can emerge. As the process continues, the king and the queen undergo purification, a symbolic death of what they once were and the preparation for what they are to become. The alchemists express this through the phrase solve et coagula, which means to dissolve and recombine, indicating that transformation requires both the breaking apart of the old and the integration into something new. In this stage, illusions are stripped away, attachments begin to loosen, and the rigid structures of the ego start to soften. It is not a comfortable process because it requires letting go of certainty, control, and familiar identity. But through this purification, what remains is no longer distorted by illusion but closer to essence. And then, after the dissolution and purification, the moment of union finally arrives. The king and the queen meet again, but they are no longer the same as before because they have been transformed through the process. Their union is no longer a merging of opposites in conflict, but a harmony of forces that now recognize their shared nature. This sacred union is often symbolized by the Rebis, a being that embodies both masculine and feminine aspects simultaneously, representing a state beyond duality. It is not the dominance of one force over the other, but the balance between them, a unity that transcends opposition. When we look beyond the symbolism, it becomes clear that the alchemical marriage is not about external figures, but about an inner process that takes place within every individual. It is the integration of logic and intuition, of conscious awareness and unconscious depth, of structure and flow. This process was later explored in modern psychology by Carl Jung, who described it as the integration of the self, the bringing together of all aspects of the psyche into a unified whole. It is the moment when the inner conflict begins to dissolve and the deeper sense of alignment begins to emerge. The alchemical marriage is not something that can be found outside of you, and it is not something that can be achieved instantly. It is a process, a journey, a gradual unfolding of awareness. And as the Hermetic teachings remind us, as within, so without, meaning that the transformation that occurs within you inevitably reflects in your experience of the world. When the division within you begins to dissolve, the world itself begins to appear different, not because it has changed, but because your perception of it has. The ancient alchemists did not hide this knowledge to keep it from us, but to protect it from being misunderstood. Because this is not knowledge that can simply be learned, it is something that must be lived. And the question is not whether the alchemical marriage is real, but whether you are ready to begin the process within yourself. If you want to explore more of these hidden teachings and symbolic truths, subscribe and continue the journey, because the greatest transformation is the one within.